AI is not going to like wholesale replace marketing. It's not going to replace the human. It's going to significantly create a force multiplier around productivity and how fast you can get things done.
Welcome to CMOs Unscripted. This is real talk with today's top marketing leaders. We are talking no filters, no fluff, just bold insights and really honest conversations that cut through the noise. I'm your host, Lisa Martin. I'm pleased and thrilled to welcome my next guest for this episode, Jennifer Johnson, aka JJ. She's the CMO of CrowdStrike, and she's got a 20-year track record in enterprise software. She's got expertise in cybersecurity. I mentioned CrowdStrike, IT operations management. She's been CMO for more than a decade, leading global marketing strategy and execution, building high-performance teams for some of the fastest growing and most trusted brands in cybersecurity. I mentioned JJ is the CMO of CrowdStrike, one of the most iconic brands in cybersecurity, and the second fastest company to hit the 2 billion ARR milestone. JJ, welcome to the podcast. It's great to have you.
Thank you very much, Lisa. It's great to be here.
Tell the audience a little bit. I know you, but tell the audience a little bit more about you and your background.
Yeah, so I think you did a great job introducing. I always say that my roots as a marketer, I have been actually. My LinkedIn probably needs to update because I have a couple more years than even you said there. But
okay.
I started my marketing career in product marketing. So my formative years were spent as a product marketer, and I always say that really has served me well now as a CMO. I've been CMO for a broad range of companies at different scales, from, smaller startups. I've been the first marketer with a blank sheet of paper, figuring out what the positioning and the initial story was, all the way up to now the scale of CrowdStrike. And I've kind of seen the gamut of everything in between there. I think product marketing at any scale is a great background to have. Narrative, point of view, storytelling, all of those things are the core of what a product marketer does, and they have to get deep with engineering and R&D. They have to be able to translation and synthesizing and translating are like core skills as a product marketer. And I think that's really important as any marketer or marketing leader, is being able to kind of take, sometimes in our space, what is very technical speeds and feeds, and be able to translate that into a story. I think, the other I think key skill that I kind of built over time was you become a hub. I always say product marketing is a hub role where you have to kind of sit between product and engineering, sales and marketing, the customer. So you have to really be able to kind of manage and build all of those stakeholders into your plans, if you will, and your activation. So I think all of those, marketing, especially, at any company, especially at a scale of CrowdStrike, is a really big machine. And so you really have to understand how all the piece parts work together. And I think a lot of times the difference between good and great is the ability to get all the pieces moving in unison, and you get a real multiplier from that. So anyway, a lot of very good formative skills. I know great marketers and great CMOs come from all over, not just product marketing, but been CMO, as you said, for more than a decade. Helped take a couple companies public. Along the way, I picked up category design. So if anyone's read the book Play Bigger, I worked with them as a category. I actually worked with them as an operator before they were Play Bigger.
Wow.
And then at Mercury, and the CMO of Mercury and the head of comms were two of the people that started and wrote the book of Play Bigger.
Very
and
cool.
Then I worked with them as Play Bigger, and I took all of that learning, and that actually was part of the the category creation process is helpful for companies in a variety of stages. It's particularly a good product market fit for companies that are looking to draft their S1s and go public. And in the two cases that I was in, it was, more of a single product, single market, single product company that was looking to go public and kind of move from single product to platform, and how you tell that broader platform story. Yeah. And, in the case of an IPO, everyone wants to understand how your TAM is going to be bigger than your core market. And so
Right.
all of those category creation skills on kind of telling the bigger story and how everything fits together, and how your core market becomes kind of the core that you build around, really served me well. So I did that a couple times. I had the honor of doing that a couple times, and got pretty deep in cybersecurity along the way. And
awesome.
CrowdStrike is the pinnacle, really. I mean, it doesn't get any. I mean, not even just in cyber, but the brand is. Thank you for the word iconic. I think we are building an iconic brand, and it's a privilege and an honor to be able to lead this marketing team here.
I love that. Your background is fantastic. I also was in product marketing. I started in field marketing, product marketing, campaigns, demand generation, customer marketing, communications. And I love that you talked about the product marketing being kind of like a hub, with the spokes being all of these different integrated pieces. Because at the end of the day, you're right, we're storytellers. And that's what I love about marketing, is being able to take esoteric technical concepts and turn them into a story. So you mentioned being a CMO for over 10 years now. You've seen this evolution, this revolution in marketing. And now we're living and working in the age of AI. And I want to talk to you about how marketing is changing and what the power that you've seen of AI in driving growth for companies. I'm seeing a lot of CMOs go to chief growth officers. So share your perspectives on the current state of where AI is in marketing, and then maybe some of the opportunities and some of the challenges that CMOs face when they're implementing AI in their marketing strategies.
Yeah. I mean, I'll repeat what I'm sure a lot of people say about this is AI is not going to like wholesale replace marketing. I think the reality is there are probably roles that can be automated through AI, but I'm a big believer in watching how we're adopting it at CrowdStrike and looking at how other marketing organizations are implementing it. It's not going to replace the human. It's going to significantly create a force multiplier around productivity and how fast you can get things done.
Yes.
And it's going to augment our ability to move faster, get more done, focus on strategic tasks. Look, it's every message that every company that's talking about AI, whether it's marketing or IT teams or, HR teams, like the value proposition is very similar. I think obviously the use cases are dependent on the role you're in, but like I'm watching it as we're adopting it. And I'll tell you, like, I'm a user of it every day. And
I am too.
I mean, it's incredible. I mean, it's scary how good it is. But look, I mean, I think of it as like an extension of my thinking and my brain.
Agree.
And
Totally agree. Yes.
We're moving from meeting to meeting, and we have to change context in our brain so many times in a day. And the more functions and piece parts you lead, like I'm having a conversation about brand, and then I'm having a conversation about data, and then I'm having a conversation about product. And you can't have those context switches all the time. You have to stop and actually like think about how you're doing your work. And I find that AI is a great way to kind of like just get clarity around like thoughts, right? And so I'm like I just got off a call this morning with people in my team, and I was looking at something, and I said, okay, everything on your list can be like AI-ified, if you will, right? And I think this kind of goes to like, there's a lot of talk. And I do think that organizations are like, if there's an organization at this point that isn't even experimenting with AI at this point, they're very far behind. So
Absolutely.
I do think that most organizations are probably in some level of early stages of AI adoption.
Yes.
But like the more that we as marketers can be intellectually curious on the art of the possible with AI, like that will in and of itself create competitive advantage. And like, I lean into my team a lot around like, and I, respectfully challenge them, like, have you leveraged AI enough? Have you been using AI? And I think the reality is like with any new technology, there's people who, naturally lean in because they're the early adopters. Like they lean in, and then you have some of the people maybe who'd be, look, I don't see a lot of digging of heels in my organization, which is great.
That is great.
But like people are kind of at different phases of how they're using it. And so I think a lot of our job as leaders is to help the organization like usher in how to adopt AI in a way. I think that's a lot of our jobs as leaders.
It's a cultural change too, but you bring up a great point. And every CMO that I'm talking to on this program and in the customer marketing work that I do with my agency, everyone's leaning into AI, but you bring up a great point. And I don't know if you, JJ, feel the same way, but I feel a sense of responsibility as a marketer in technology to help even business people, lay people understand how AI is able to augment what we're doing from a productivity perspective, from a creative thinking perspective. I do that a lot on iHeartRadio to help folks understand there are some jobs being replaced, manual data entry, for example, but we've seen the data from the World Economic Forum just a few months ago that shows how many, I want to say the number is like 78 million net new jobs will be created in the next 5 years by organizations, by people leaning into AI as that productivity enhancer. And it's great that your team is on board because it's a cultural change, as I mentioned, and cultural change is always hard to do. But walk me through some of your favorite examples of how you're using AI at CrowdStrike in marketing efforts.
Yeah, and I think on that point, like I think the roles of marketing will evolve in the future to be able to understand how to use AI and leverage AI and build the models, and like being prompt engineers is a big thing that we talk about, right? Like, because you can ask a question, but then like being able to like continue to prompt it to get to where you need to go to. I think that's a skill set in and of itself that will need to be taught in, I mean, I think any profession. Like I would anticipate that we're going to see changes to like the education system in terms of like how we train people to use AI. So I think it's just so like fascinating. I mean, look, we're at a point now at CrowdStrike where in the marketing team where like if you're using AI to help with generating content ideation, synthesizing content, helping to augment your messaging, that kind of thing. I think those are like, honestly, like that's kind of basic at this point and table stakes. Like my message for everyone, if you're not using it for that, like you need to start using it for that. I'm like, I'm super interested in, kind of where we're heading with it. And in terms of not just like writing the content, but like we've been able to accelerate our, like we have 30 different modules across our platform that span probably like 8 or 10 different markets. So when you think about like, how do we, like even our website is an example, like we've got 8 to 10 microsite websites within our website just on the product section alone, right? And because all of these could be effectively standalone businesses, right? And so we can't just have one page for cloud security, right? We need to have a whole microsite for cloud security. And so that's a daunting task when you think about it. Our team has been able to use AI to like when I say dramatically accelerate, I mean something that would have taken us months can now take us a couple weeks to do in terms of, and I'm looking at like, we just relaunched big swaths of our website. We're looking at it for like helping to augment, not replace, but augment some of the things we're doing on the brand and creative side, for as an example. We've built our own proprietary LLM because we're not going to put our financial pipeline data as an example.
Right.
We've got to keep that in house, but like how to think, we're starting to now think about of like, how do you uncover, nuances, patterns, and data in terms of the customer journey? Like what's the ideal customer journey? I think personalization is another big one that we're starting to look at right now. And then, agentic AI, of course, is like the buzzword.
Yes, it is.
It's fascinating how we went from generative AI to agentic AI in a matter of literally like months. It was like the light just switched one day.
Totally.
And now everyone's talking
100%.
about
Everything's about agentic. But you bring up a great point in terms of really watching and monitoring and evolving as the customer journey evolves. Customers go through so many touch points on their own before they start talking to a brand. They're so empowered, but they also expect that brands will be able to communicate with them in a personalized way, non-creepy, but they want those relevant offers, those timely offers. They want the context to be correct. How do so you mentioned a great use case of a massive acceleration of your own prolific work, which is fantastic. Are you finding that you're at the stage of saying up to the C-suite, here's how AI is helping us optimize marketing spend and improve ROI? Are they looking for those kind of metrics yet? Are we there yet?
Yeah, we're there. We're there yet. I mean, we're adopting AI very heavily across the entire organization at CrowdStrike. I mean, it's not just in our technology; it's in our business processes and kind of how we're operationalizing it across the entire company. And we're really looking at, like in marketing, I'm looking at productivity savings. I'm looking at quality improvements around it. I mean, time and productivity savings are kind of the big ones that
Yeah.
I'm looking at today. And, there's definitely other ways to measure it. But, I look at, also like the example I had this morning, and I know there's other leaders in the industry that have said, you need to show how AI, it can't be done. If you're going to ask for a human headcount, you need to show that role can't be done with AI before you
Okay.
approve a new headcount. So I think there's, that's an extreme example, but I think there's something really good in that like it's going to really force people to think about, like, how do I maximize that AI lever first before I think about like defaulting to like we need more humans, right?
Right.
And it's going to free up the humans to focus on more strategic tasks. I
Yeah.
also think that once we look at, like, right now we're, like, let's just take the web as an example. The first step was, how do we actually like spin up new pages and get the right messaging and get that out on the web faster. That's like step one. Step two then is, how do we personalize in real time that entire journey? And we're partnering with companies like Adobe. I think like what Salesforce just launched with Agentforce is also really interesting, around like real time personalization, making sure that you're guiding the user through a journey digitally that you like want them to, but also you're kind of helping guide them. A lot of times people can't find what they need to find on a website. So I think a great agentic AI use case of like to say, what are you looking for? Help me on. And then like it works at machine speed, right? So it can serve up whatever content or guide people to the right place. And then, I think there's even an interesting use case around, how do you build agentic AI through the entire flow? Like, imagine if you had, we have reg forms today, which is like the primary way we tend to capture leads on the website. If you had a superhuman, if you will, in the loop there, it's like, okay, well, you can get a reg page, or it can just deliver you the content and then ask you what you want. You want to get a demo? Do you want to have a meeting? Like it's going to drive better conversion and better
Absolutely.
velocity from a pipeline
Yes.
perspective. So I think like
Yes.
you can look at ROI from like hey, how can we do things faster? But like the real meat on the bone is like, how are we actually driving growth faster through the customer journey?
Yes. And really impacting revenue. So it sounds like you're seeing AI is changing the way we talked about change management and culture, but your team really leaning in, and companies that
Yeah.
aren't leaning in yet. And I haven't come across one yet, but if they aren't, they're behind the curve. But how is it changing the way that marketers are making decisions? And is it enhancing the sales marketing relationship? I would imagine that it's a big facilitator of that.
100%. I mean, I think number one, I mean, I can speak for, like, I use AI to kind of rationalize my thought process and my decision making. Like, I can take, my thoughts, like kind of, raw notes on paper, and AI will help me kind of synthesize my thinking. So it might be making a decision for me. It might be helping me crystallize my thinking so that I can make a better decision faster. I think both of those are true, and I'm using it for both of those use cases today. And I think anything where, like anything that's going to help accelerate pipeline by default is helping to improve the sales and marketing
Absolutely.
relationship, right? But
Yes.
I think
Yes.
there's an element of, how do we take input in and synthesize it and get to, information output, plans, execution faster. And all of that leads to growth. And really, pipeline and revenue are the keys to a great, healthy sales and marketing relationship.
Absolutely. It's table stakes for any organization, regardless of industry. But you're talking about a brand as powerful and iconic, as we both said before, as CrowdStrike. Customers have that expectation. And I think probably the internal folks do as well, that we're going to be able to understand our customers better, faster, in a more relevant, personalized way, which would facilitate pipeline conversions, getting to those revenue targets, facilitate that company growth. So you mentioned acceleration, JJ, and I think one of the things that we've seen since ChatGPT was launched 2.5 years ago is this massive acceleration of AI. It's been around for decades, but suddenly it is at the forefront. Every company has to have an AI story, regardless of your industry. But you also mentioned, we went from generative AI to agentic AI in like the flip of a switch. It was so quick. So with that acceleration of AI in marketing, you're embracing it, your team is embracing it, CrowdStrike is embracing it in its products and technologies. What do you see as some of the next steps in terms of the future of AI in marketing as we finish 2025, get into 2026? What's exciting to you right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it'll be interesting to see. It went from Gen AI to Agentic AI in a matter of months. I mean, if it's going to go from Agentic AI to something else in a matter of months, I think there needs to be a little bit of time for like the industry to catch up,
Yeah.
to be
Yeah.
honest. And so,
Yeah.
like, I think Agentic AI in and of itself is really interesting in terms of the applicability. And I look at how do you, going back to the kind of the customer journey and pipeline, if you take the top of the funnel and, a lot of that tends to be more, digitally driven at the top of the, sorry, my dog is
Right.
very excited about AI too, digitally driven,
Yes.
how that's going to transform like the velocity of that entire top of funnel. Right. And that's including marketing, that's including, the SDR team, if you have one of those teams, right? And like that marketing to sales handoff. I think, and even beyond that, like I was actually talking to a startup yesterday about they have this superhuman that can actually help take you through and personalize your kind of your inbound web experience, and it can even go as so far as to deliver the first presentation. And they were saying that some of their early adopter customers are saying that the superhuman is actually better than their most skilled SE of delivering a demo.
Wow.
Like you,
Wow.
and so yeah. So again, I'm not talking about the fact that a superhuman agentic AI, is it, bot is going to like completely replace
Replace.
marketing SDR,
Yeah.
SEs, everyone in the flow. But imagine a world where you can like automate a lot of that, and then you can
Yeah.
start to think about, okay, who are the prospects, customers that need that kind of human touch? Where can we automate? And then where are the natural points between automation and like the human in the loop, right? You can't take the human
Yeah.
out of the loop, but
No.
I don't, I think that, I mean, we're scratching the surface with
Oh my
that.
God. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, but I think I find that extraordinarily exciting, right? I mean,
I do too.
I was early, when the web and the .com boom of the late 90s hit. I was, early in my career, so I probably didn't, you know, maybe I didn't appreciate the radical revolution
Yeah.
transformation that the web
Yeah.
had. But now, given I'm sitting here now, 30, 25 plus years into my career, looking at how AI is going to transform everything, like that makes me really excited. And what I'd say is, I know it can be scary for people to think
Yeah.
about, but I think embracing the art of the possible is what's super exciting. And we talk at CrowdStrike a lot about in across the company, but in marketing, we talk a lot about being intellectually curious. And
Yeah.
I think that's a real key to success in any company, in any team. And I think the same goes here, like being
I agree.
intellectually curious and like thinking about what's possible, not like what it's like the negative side of it could or maybe not do, right? I
Yeah.
think is really important for every organization. And I think the last point is, we talk about like iconic brands, iconic teams, and a lot of what makes CrowdStrike an iconic brand is our innovation and being a
Yeah.
pioneer, and how we revolutionized an entire industry, and how we're revolutionizing cybersecurity again now in the AI
Yes.
era. And I
Yes.
talked to my team about the fact that like we are a brand that's built on innovation. We are a marketing team that also needs to be built on innovation. So I
Absolutely.
think that's a good message for any marketing team. Like if you want to be an innovative company, you need to actually build innovation into the way you work, not just what you do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It can't be a nice to have anymore. It has to
Yeah.
be really foundational. I love that you're talking about just how quickly you mentioned the word velocity a few times. And that's something that it's not going to slow down, but there's some great, exciting emerging trends. You have an iconic brand that is synonymous with cybersecurity. Cybersecurity is a household word. Every person, every individual, and every company has to have a really strong cyber resilient practice. And so you're kind of at this foundation of leading that, leveraging emerging trends, leveraging technologies like AI. So I just want to thank you for being so busy and taking the time to talk with my audience here of prospective marketers, maybe early CMOs or folks that aspire to be CMOs, to understand why it's important to lean in, to embrace the innovation technologically and culturally in the office as well. We just appreciate so much your insights, JJ. Thank you.
Thank you. It was really, really great to be here.
Yeah, excellent. We want to thank you for watching and remind you, if you're not subscribed on YouTube, hit that little bell button so that you get notifications. We drop new episodes every other week. And we're talking with wonderful brands, CrowdStrike here with JJ, Nutanix, Dynatrace, Snowflake, Delta Airlines, some smaller companies as well, like Trellix and Nutanix and SourceGraph. We're bringing you content to really help you educate yourself on your marketing journey. And again, we appreciate you watching, and don't forget to subscribe. We'll see you on the next episode.